What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 4-4 Football YouTube channel. Welcome back to another matchups video where I, Hutchinson, run to leave you matchups that I love, hate, or just want to talk about in fantasy football for this week. Before I get in this video, I'd appreciate if you were subscribed to this YouTube channel and click that notification bell so you'll be notified every single time a new video does drop. Also, I appreciate if you check out the 4-4 website, 44.com, go to the plans page, and on that plans page, you're going to be able to find a variety of bonus premium content to sign up for. When you sign up, to get content that's going to help you win your fantasy football league, use the code YouTube. YouTube, like just spelled out in YouTube, all caps. Use the code YouTube when signing up to get 25% off. Let's get right into it. Remember, matchups I love, hate, or just want to talk about for fantasy football this week. Let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry has 2 straight great games, both with scoring touchdowns. And then this week, he gets the Broncos, who just gave Sam Laporta 3 touchdowns this past week. If Sam Laporta can get 3, then Hunter Henry can absolutely just sneak away with 1. So if you need a streaming tight end, Hunter Henry's rostered in just below 50% of sleeper leagues. He's out there in plenty of leagues. If you need a streaming tight end, if you have an injury, if you have, if you've been, playing around since you've lost Mark Andrews, Hunter Henry's a guy that you can get this week and play pretty nicely. Now, looking towards the next one I don't like. This is one I don't like for this week. I'm talking about Sam Howell. I don't want to start Sam Howell this week. It's been fun. He's almost led the league in passing yards. It's been a great ride with Sam Howell. But last week, it really fell apart. I mean, he was 11 of 26 in the time he played, and he got benched for Jacoby Brissett. And Brissett actually played decently well. He also made Terry McLaurin look like a superstar wide receiver, which Sam Howell has not been able to do any of part of this season. So I'm not excited for this week matchup against the New York Jets. The Jets are arguably the best passing defense in the entire National Football League. Sauce Gardner and that crew, they're just unbelievable. They are locked down in terms of the pass. And that's going to really hurt Sam Howell. I don't think his fantasy production is going to be there. Sure, you're starting Sam Howell as a QB1 this week. I'd be quite worried for you. As a QB2, all right, I think you can risk it, but I'd rather not even do that. I would start Nick Mullens over Sam Howell, to be quite honest. And that transitions perfectly into one of my next starts I actually like this week. I'm talking about Nick Mullens. I think you can start Nick Mullens this week as a potential QB1. I mean, most people are not this desperate, but if you're in a 14, 16-man league, a lot of quarterbacks are rostered. You need somebody, you're desperate. Nick Mullens, you could look at. I mean, honestly, he finished as a top 12 quarterback last week, and he's at home this week against the Detroit Lions defense, who have been terrible on the secondary as of late. And he was actually quite serviceable for fantasy last week. As I mentioned earlier, he was a top 12 quarterback on the week. He has the weapons. He's Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, KJ Osborne. So this is an easy play. I feel like this is a really serviceable play for you, Nick Mullens. So if you need a quarterback, Nick Mullens is your guy. And looking next one, I think there's a world where you can, if you have an elite option, you can bench Travis Kelce. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous. I know that sounds crazy. Just hear me out for a second. Over the last 8 weeks, I want you to guess where Travis Kelce has been in terms of points per game among tight ends. In PPR, he's number 9. And now for a tight end, that's not very good. He's been pretty poor for fantasy over the last 9 weeks. He's very inconsistent, very on and off. So if you have an elite option, if you have a Sam Laporta, if you have a David Njoku who's been dominating lately, if you have one of those couple guys that have truly, and TJ Hawkinson, if you have one of those guys that have truly been dominating at a different level, you can start them over Travis Kelce. Now, I'm not saying start Travis Kelce. I'm not starting to start Hunter Henry over Travis Kelce or Cole Kmet over Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's sure a top 5 tight end this week. I would probably rank him as a top 5 to 7 tight end this week. But if you have a Sam Laporta, if you have a George Kittle, if you have a TJ Hawkinson, if you have one of these guys, don't start Travis Kelce over them. He's been outproduced by them. Don't start Travis Kelce over those guys. So looking on, Chuba Hubbard is a guy I really want to play this week. He's sneakily been very good for fantasy over the last 4 weeks. He's averaged just about 16 fantasy points per game in a PPR scoring format. He's gotten tons and tons and tons of volume. The Panthers don't really have much to play for. I guess they're just seeing what Chuba Hubbard has for them. Miles Sanders has been quite a failure this year, so they're seeing what Chuba Hubbard has, and he's been doing pretty well. I mean, the fantasy points are there, the volume's there. And he gets a matchup this week with the Green Bay Packers, who we know are terrible against the run. They're a bottom 5 defense in terms of fantasy points given up to the running back position. So Chuba Hubbard, that's an easy play. And now, Jaxon, Smith-Njigba. 2 of his last 3 games, he's been above 13 plus PPR fantasy points. And this week, he gets a Tennessee secondary that we know is super, super weak against the pass. They're super weak against wide receivers. And the Smith-Njigba breakout's happening, everybody. I mean, he caught the game-winning touchdown this past week against the Philadelphia Eagles, against my Philadelphia Eagles. Really hurt to watch that one as an Eagles fan, but I love to see it for Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I've been a huge fan of him all season long, all off-season long. He's been one of my favorite guys. So this week against the Tennessee Titans, you can absolutely start him as a flex if you really need a wide receiver to help you out. And then the last one. People are quite concerned after last week. He had, a historically bad game. I think it was the first player in NFL history to have 20 opportunities and like less than 20 yards. It was something like that. It was absurd. Derrick Henry. I mean, like, what on earth happened, man? Like, he just got nothing. He gave you nothing. He was so ineffective with the ball in his hands. He looked terrible. The Houston Texans defense did everything they can to stop him. Now, looking at this coming week against the Seattle Seahawks, they are a bottom 5 run defense in terms of fantasy points given to the running back position. So the question is, do you start Derrick Henry? And I'm just going to go out and say you got to trust him. I'm sorry, you got to trust him. It's getting cold, and it's just, I mean, I don't know how you don't start him. The Seattle defense is terrible. We know he dominates in the fantasy playoffs. You have to start Derrick Henry. I would much rather start Derrick Henry and end up with a terrible week, like a truly terrible week, than rather than not play him and he goes off for like a 40-point game, because that's the potential this week. So play Derrick Henry, and I want to say do it with confidence, but also you want to be a little bit worried, but do it with confidence. You got to play Derrick Henry. And let's go on my game of the week. I'm looking at the Ravens 49ers game. This is the game of the week. This could be the potential Super Bowl this year. The Ravens and the 49ers, both number 1 seeds in their conferences. This is a huge game. This is going to be fun. This is going to be competitive. This is going to be a fun game. I really want to see how it plays out. But looking at the 49ers to the ball, I mean, you could start Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, who's been on a tear lately. Deebo Samuel over his last 3 games is on pace to have 33 touchdowns on the season. That's where we're at right now. So keep playing Deebo Samuel. Brock Purdy, if you really need a quarterback one, you can play him. I would be a little bit nervous about it, but you can play him. Christian McCaffrey, obviously in your lineup. And looking forward to the Ravens. This is when it gets a little more interesting. Lamar Jaxon, he finished the quarterback 10 in fantasy this past week, I believe. He was a fringe top 12 guy. You can start him again this week. You want that upside. You want that game-winning upside, and he has that, especially in a really big game here with the 49ers and their secondary, who's been on and off this year. I would start Lamar. And looking at the running back room, you don't want to start any of these guys, but look out for Justice Hill. Watch him, see how much volume he gets with Keaton Mitchell's absence now, happening. Does Justice Hill get a ton more volume? Because if he does, he could be a potential start in week 17. And then looking at the receiving room, you don't want to start any of these guys besides Isaiah Likely. Maybe Zay Flowers if you're really that desperate. But after watching what's happened in the last few weeks, Zay Flowers is somebody that I'm really quite nervous about. But Isaiah Likely has shown a really nice connection with Lamar Jackson. I want to continue to start him. We got 2 streamers here that I really want to talk about, and they're both in the same game. The Jets, if they're somehow unrostered, pick them up, play them against the Washington Commanders, against Sam Howell, who could be benched again this week. It's going to be bad. And then play the Washington Commanders defense. They're not rostered in a ton of leagues. They're not the greatest fantasy defense out there. They don't have a ton of sacks or don't get a ton of interceptions usually. But the Jets offense, we know it sucks. That we know they're turnover prone. And it's just a disaster. So, yeah, you want the Washington Commanders defense. All right, but that's going to be it for this video today. Thank you all again so much for tuning in. I appreciate it if you subscribe to this YouTube channel and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified every single time a new video does drop. And also, check out the 44.com website, 44.com/plans. Check out that plans page. And subscribe to a plan that's going to help you win your fantasy football league. And use the code YouTube when signing up for 25% off. And also, follow me on Twitter. I'm at HutchinsonB_FF. I'm a teenage content creator trying to make his way in the fantasy football space. So any love and support would be greatly appreciated. All right, everybody. We'll see you all next week with the transactions video. Peace.